Blessings and peace to you. This is SB Favor Thinking Podcast, and my name is SB Favor. How are you doing today? It is Wednesday, January 5th, 2022. Another wonderful day and another day to be thankful. And as I always say, if you focus on what is good, then you can project something good to happen. So make sure you focus on what is good. Make sure you are controlling your thought life, not sitting around thinking about all the negative things. Make sure you are projecting something that is good, because we all have so much to be thankful for. So focus on what is good. If you are out there traveling about, make sure you're wearing your mask and using your hand sanitizer. We're still in the middle of a pandemic. I always remind you of that because I care. Well, Tonie Howard is here with me to discuss challenges, the correct attitude to get through, how to deal with your challenges. But before we get into the topic, I would like to remind you, if you would like to give to the podcast, you can give at Cash App $SB Favor. Thank you so much for your donations. I appreciate that. Tonie, how you doing tonight?
I'm wonderful.
How was your day?
It was great. Slow but great.
Yeah. Mine was good too. I had to jump a few hurdles, but it was okay. I'm still thankful and I'm here. So that's all that matters. But I wanted to talk about challenges, the correct attitude to get through, because this pandemic has presented all of us with different types of challenges. Most of us are just tired of just the news and all that has happened with the pandemic. You know, people are going through what they call pandemic burnout. And then, of course, sadly, there are people that are suffering different types of mental illnesses. You know, you see people fighting on flights and airports, and all kinds of stuff is going on. And so in the midst of everything that's happening, we have to pace ourselves and, of course, pray and deal with our challenges. And so, Tonie, what would you say? How do you deal with your challenges?
I think one of the key things you just said is to pace yourself, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes when we are in the midst of a challenge, it's very easy to kind of speed along, but in the speeding along, not really realizing that we're emotionally charged.
Yeah.
And so when we pace ourselves, it gives us an opportunity to kind of stand back, digest what's happening, reflect, and then make the proper decisions to move forward with wisdom.
Yeah. You know, I agree with that 100%. Today, you know, I got up this morning and I prayed and I meditated a little bit, and in the midst of just going forward with my day, you know, I had some challenges, and I wasn't thinking negative, because I'm one of those people, I'm just always saying, okay, let me control my thoughts, let me make sure I'm focused and all that good stuff. But today was a little different, you know. I was feeling kind of tired, and I didn't want to talk. I was really quiet. And in the midst of talking to God, I just felt like I said, I was just tired. And so the word pace, you know, that comes to my mind, because I think that when we get caught up into what's going on, I think the news and the situations that are happening worldwide, I think it becomes a distraction of what and where our focus should be. What do you think about that?
I definitely agree that it's a distraction. I think I was sharing with you the other day, I was on a call, and I'll make this brief, but I was on a call with someone, and literally I could sense the anxiety just from the person and even the entire community where they were at, right? And it really dawned on me that as a result of the numbers that are spiking during this pandemic, and, you know, people having to make decisions based on those numbers, and it brings this whole force, so to speak, without people really thinking things through because of that emotional charge and that anxiety. They kind of start making decisions that are really off the cuff. They're not well thought decisions. And so, you know, when I felt that, I had the person kind of pull back, right? And kind of think about the entire scenario before a decision was made. And because we pulled back and, as you mentioned before, paced ourselves and kind of delegated that distraction, compartmentalized it, you know, somewhere else, the person was able to make a concrete decision versus an emotional decision prior to stepping back.
Wow. That's something, because all that's going on in the world is a bunch of, it's just a bunch of problems, right? But we don't have to be subject to the problems. We don't have to be subject to the news and what's going on. We don't have to be subject to it. And I had to tell myself this morning when I was tired and I was feeling the way I was feeling, I told myself, okay, let me change my focus. And what you just said, you had to remind this person, you know, hey, you know, let's do this so that there could be a better decision. And that's what we have to do. We have to shift our focus, because if we focus on what's going on in society too much, then our own personal challenges become something greater. You know what I'm saying, Tony? I mean, like, it's already stuff going on in the world, and it's stuff going on in different families, and it's just a lot of things happening all at once. And then our personal challenges in our personal lives, that's something on top of what's already happening. So we have to shift our focus on where it should be, which I believe it should be God. It should be on the things that we want to see happen versus the things we don't want to happen. We have to project what is good. I always say that because I think that when we project what is good and we project and forecast what we want to see happen, then that can be our reality, because the thoughts we have can become our reality. And so I had to remind myself of that today. I was talking to my daughter and I said to her, I am my own message. And she was like, what do you mean? I said, you know, what I say to others, that's what I am, you know. And I can honestly say, Tony, I was really being challenged, and in the midst of it, it did not feel good at all. But I did shift my focus, and I stayed focused on what I want to happen versus what I don't want to happen. And I was okay. It got to the point where I was just like, oh, I'm not even going to do the podcast tonight. I'm just going to cancel it. And I said, no. That's the wrong thought. That's the wrong thought. Because even in the midst of what we feel or what we go through, we still have to press through our challenges. So, Tony, tell me about something else that you may have experienced in the midst of last year, 2021, because of the pandemic and some of the things you may have been exposed to. Tell me about that.
So, you know, for me, there were multiple challenges. One thing that I absolutely embrace when I'm being challenged is having the ability to recognize when a response is due to the challenge, because everything does not deserve a response at the moment.
That's right.
And so sometimes, you know, what I recognized is not having a response right away to the challenge enabled me not to be the cleanup woman after the fact, right? Because sometimes when we respond so quickly and it doesn't deserve a response, at the end of a thing, the outcome causes us to have to clean up.
Whoa.
And sometimes the cleanup is much more deeper, much more wider, much more timely than the challenge itself. So I really learned to embrace, you know, that every challenge does not deserve a response. on set.
I agree. Because the manifestation of the wrong responses, those people that's fighting in them airports.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I know that's pretty serious. You know, when you got somebody that's spitting on somebody during a flight in the middle of the air, are you serious? Look, come on now. I mean, you know, I was telling a friend of mine, I said, you know, every time I get on a plane, I make sure I say a serious prayer for everybody that's on the plane. We're going to, look, every flight that I'm on, I tell myself and whoever I'm with, look, we're going to have a peaceful flight. We're going to have a good flight. Everybody's going to be sweet to one another and nothing's going to happen. Everybody's going to cooperate. Everybody's going to wear their mask. Everything's going to be good because I don't want to be in the midst. I don't want to be in the midst of something like that. But yes, that type of behavior is a manifestation of the frustration that people are experiencing from the pandemic and other issues, other personal challenges that they're having in their life. And what you said, Tony, is true because everything doesn't deserve a response. And we have to be conscientious of our actions, what we say, and to identify when we are actually being challenged. You know, like I said, this morning, as I started my day, I recognized I was being challenged because of the way I felt. Because I get up in the morning with this giddy attitude and I'm usually just happy. And when I start praying and singing or doing whatever it is that I do, I start my day the right way. Now, once I felt like I was being challenged, I did my workout. I did what I had to do to get through it, but I had to recognize it. But imagine, Tony, those people that don't recognize they're being challenged. They don't recognize that they are being challenged to the point where they actually think they're having a bad day when they're not having a bad day at all. What do you think about that?
No, and it's so true. It's funny because as you were talking before you said recognize, what came to me was we have to identify the moment.
Yes.
We have to identify the moment. And so many times, you know, even for myself, you know, sometimes when I self-reflect, it's like when we are in a place of frustration or, you know, any type of negative emotion, we don't realize that we have pushed ourselves or prodded ourselves in order to get to that place, right? So you actually have the ability to refrain from the negative emotion.
That's right.
When you identify the moment.
Exactly. And that's what happened to me this morning is that when I felt it, right? When I felt it, I said, you know what? The first thing I always identify if I'm feeling a certain way, I tell myself I have to change what I'm thinking in that moment. It cannot be no delay. It cannot be no excuse, no justification. In the moment, we have to change what we're thinking. We have to change what we're thinking. We have to change what we are projecting about the day. You know, if you get up in the morning and you're feeling some kind of way, don't just tell yourself, oh, it's going to be one of them days. No, it's not going to be one of those days because you can turn it around at any time by what you project, by what you say, and by what you pray and what you think. So, but Tony, let me ask you this. Has there ever been a time where you were being challenged and then all of a sudden you did mention something about the cleanup, so that you did something you wasn't supposed to do or said something you wasn't supposed to say, so that's the cleanup, right? That's the cleanup, right. So you answered the question, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you know, several times, to be honest with you. You know, it's like either you find yourself in a situation. I mean, I'm in the public a lot. And so, you know, I have this keen awareness of unsatisfiable customer service, right? And so sometimes I can be in a store and I can recognize that I'm receiving unsatisfiable customer service. And, you know, if it goes on and on and on, there may be a time where I might just say what I'm feeling,
right.
but I recognize, oh my goodness, I probably should have said that. I'm right in what I'm thinking,
right.
but I'm wrong in my delivery. So there have been times where I've gone to the stores and, I've circled back
right.
and gone back to the store to apologize, to the associate that although the message was right, the delivery was wrong. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And so that's a cleanup. Now I got to turn around. I got to go back. I got to find this person and I got to apologize, even though I know that I received unsatisfiable customer service, but it's like, you're right, Tony, in what you're saying, but your delivery was so off that it probably was not influential or impactful to the person enough that would cause them to have a provoking thought in order to change.
Wow.
So was your statement really helpful at the moment?
Right.
Probably not.
Right. Because
cleaning up, it probably is.
Because everything does not deserve a certain type of reaction. And in the midst of our challenges, we should never become so frustrated that we blow up at the next person. Dealing with challenges, I believe that we should pray. I think that prayer is a way to just get it out, because God knows us better than we know ourselves. And we should go to Him. And for those of us that don't talk to God in that intimate way, talk to a therapist. Because I believe that when you get it out, what you're feeling, what you're thinking, whatever it is you're going through, if you feel some type of way because of your challenges, it's best to get it out. And prayer is very vital. Talking to a therapist is very vital. Talking to someone that you trust. Journaling. All those things are important because you can get it out. Yeah, I think that when we hold it all in, the frustration, the feelings, or whatever it is we may be feeling because of the challenges, I think when it all boils over, then it just comes out all the wrong way. So it's important that we check ourselves, because during this pandemic, every family has been affected by this pandemic in some type of way. And all of us have gone through different challenges over the last 2 years. And I just think that we have to continue to persevere and just pace ourselves to get through. Sometimes, even if it doesn't feel good, tell yourself you can make it. You don't have to quit. You don't have to give in. If you need to cry, cry. All those things are therapeutic. Prayer, talking to a therapist, crying, just doing the self-care to make sure that you are okay. Because, Tony, some people, sadly, there's a lot of people in society, they're not doing too well. And we know that just by what we see on the news and what we see on social media. But we don't want to focus on the problem of what we're talking about. We want to focus on the solution. And so that's why we are talking about this. We're talking about this because all of us are challenged in some type of way at different times. And me and Tony just want to encourage, motivate, and inspire you in some type of way to just evaluate yourself so that you can get help or pray, talk to somebody in some type of way, because you're not by yourself. What's your take on that, Tony?
I agree. And I really strongly suggest that whole, if you're not a person of prayer, the therapy, talk to someone, because it does work. A lot of times in society, people have this stigma on therapy, but believe it or not, if you have the right therapist, that could be one of the greatest breakthroughs that an individual could ever have. in addition, to prayer. Now, if you're not a person of prayer, then that's a different story. But that therapy piece has the potential to really be vital in someone's life.
Yes, absolutely. And make sure, listeners, in the midst of all of the decisions you make sure that, as Tony mentioned earlier, make sure your decisions are not just emotional. It's just not something that you do because of an emotion in the moment. And then you realize, oh my God, I made such a terrible decision in the midst of my emotions that I was feeling. So, but just be mindful. I wanted to talk about this topic because, like I was telling you last week, Tony, a lot of people are going through a lot, and just to supply people with some tips, some tools of what they can do. I just think that it's important, personally, each day I try to be very conscientious of what's going on with me so that I can help somebody else. I don't want to be so selfish that I forget about the people around me, because even the people that we are close to, somebody could be going through something in secret and you won't even know it if you're not in the right space mentally or spiritually. So evaluate yourself, people, and make sure you evaluate yourselves in a way where you know what's going on with you. Be honest, because if you're not honest with yourself, and you're one of those people that walk around and say, I'm all right, I'm okay, guess what? You're lying to yourself. Because if you're honest with yourself in that moment, then you can come out of that space that's making you feel frustrated, or that space that's making you discouraged, or whatever it is that may be happening. You can come out of that space if you're honest. So that's why me and Tony also mentioned prayer, because when you pray, it's a venting space with God. Nobody else will know except for him. You don't have to worry about thinking, can I trust this person with this? Can I trust that person with that? When you talk to God, I call it a venting space, because he's going to listen. And when you talk to God in that way, the tears may come out. But like I said, it feels good, because whatever's inside of you, it gets to come out. Because I think that, Tony, a lot of people are walking around and stuff is just boiling over. I mean, you can see it the way people are driving. What'd you say?
You know what? I like what you just said about, having that prayer time with God, and having the ability to have whatever's on the inside of you come out or be released. Mm-hmm. Because the truth is, on the other side of the coin, if you don't have a space or someone to release it to, it's going to come out in your behavior.
That's right.
So I think that too is a poignant point, moving back to what you were saying about being honest with yourself. What's really on the inside that mm-hmm. needs to be released mm-hmm. in that private space of prayer?
Yes.
What is it, versus you not being honest and going out into society, interacting with other people, and then your behavior displays that which you have not let out in a secret place.
Exactly. We have to be mindful. We have to be very mindful, because what if also, Tony, I want to mention this, what if a person, they may not manifest it in their behavior towards someone else? What if they manifest that type of behavior to themselves by drinking too much alcohol, or they think they can relieve that pain or whatever's going on inside by going to have sex with multiple people? It might be gambling. It could be anything. So self-care and being self-aware, you like Tony said, you could blow out on somebody else, but what if you do that to yourself? What do you think about that, Tony? A person could go do that to themselves.
Yep, I think again, it's key what you're saying in regards to being honest, right? Mm-hmm. Because to do something to yourself, regardless of how big or how small, it's self-destruction.
That's right.
It leads you to a pathway of nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's being very honest about where you are, but then taking a step further, once you're honest and you acknowledge what that particular situation is that is causing you to want to self-destruct, then what exactly are you going to do in order to resolve that pain, that hurt, that disappointment, after you've acknowledged that it's there, because there's a big difference between acknowledging, but then putting in the work in order to be healed.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It's a big difference, because we could be honest, we could acknowledge all day long, but if we don't put in the work in order to get to the other side, right, to be whole, to be healed, to be healthy, then we're just stuck in a place of self-destruction.
Exactly. Because the challenges we all have faced in the last 2 years, every family, somebody somewhere, we know somebody that has been dealing with different types of challenges. And we all know that when we are challenged, we feel some type of way in the moment. So that being said, we have to pray. We have to get it out. We have to talk to somebody. We have to do something about it. And we have to do the work. Like Tony said, it's an ongoing process of work. It's not something, that you recognize, you identify, and you just say, okay, well, that's there and that's it. And you pack up. No, you keep doing the work. You keep doing the work until you know there is a change. And that work, I believe, personally, it starts with prayer. It starts with your relationship with God. And I say that in that way because God is the all in all with all. Without him, what can we do? Without him, who can answer? Who can help us? Without him, what hope do we have? So that's why I talk about God in that type of way. And I know it's somebody out there that may not know or believe what I believe, but I'm going to say something to you to encourage you. Prayer it's like the heartbeat that's inside of all of us. If we don't pray, then guess what? We're in trouble. We have to pray. That's the heartbeat. That's the voice of God. Prayer, the heartbeat inside of us. So I hope that somebody is encouraged not to give up, not to project the negative. I hope that somebody is focused to feel better, project something better, and do the work. Do the work so that you can be better. That's what my hope is from talking about this topic. Tony, is there something else you want to share?
Just really quick. And when you're doing the work, just know that you don't have to do the work by yourself all the time. Yeah.
Yep. That's right. We're all in this together. And I say that in that way because we're all flesh and blood. This is not a black thing, white thing, Hispanic thing. This is a human thing. And so money, houses, and cars, it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't solve the thing that's going on inside of us when we have issues. A check can't solve an issue that's sitting inside of you. And so the way to solve it is to recognize it, pray about it, and work on it. So listeners, I thank you so much for taking the time to tune in and listen to SB Favor Thinking Podcast. I appreciate you. Tony, you're going to be back with me again next week, right?
Yes, if you have me, of course.
Okay, now you heard her, listeners. So we got to dig a little bit deeper into some heavier topics, because I believe that we can be positive, but sometimes we got to dig deep to provide more answers. And so, listeners, I appreciate you. Please share the podcast with others. And I'd like to remind you, if you would like to give to the podcast, donate on any level, you can provide donations at $ SB Favor at Cash App. If you need to reach me, you can reach me at sbfavor@yahoo.com via email. You can also find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at sbfavor. I have a YouTube channel. But before I mention that YouTube information, I also have a TikTok handle. I cannot forget that. Sometimes I forget that, Tony. I'm not dancing over there, but you can find inspirational content at the YouTube channel. Please click like, leave me some feedback, and click the bell so that you can receive a notification each time there's a new episode of the SB Favor Thinking Podcast. That's how you subscribe to the channel, when you click the bell. So click the bell. I appreciate you, listeners. Make sure you share the podcast with others, and make sure you tune in again for our next episode. Talk to you soon. You have a good day.